Hello, this is a video about how I use Turnitin.com to mark up the papers that my students turn in. Alright, so you go into your Turnitin, figure out which class that you're actually grading, in this case this class. You'll have your various assignments listed here. In order to actually grade the papers, you click the View button on a particular assignment. That will bring up all the papers. This should be your whole class's papers ideally. This one is 100% plagiarized because I chose a paper that had already been turned in, and so that's plagiarized, sort of. And so that would be a problem in real life, but not here. All right, to grade the paper, you click the grade thing, and that opens up the actual editing window or the grading window, basically. It's nice to have a nice big monitor here for this because obviously your space is going to be a little limited if you have a small monitor. You can also shrink and raise the size of the text depending on how blind you are. All right, and I'm pretty old, so I'm kind of blind. All right, so at this point, you're going to want to choose the rubric. Do this on the first paper, obviously, so that you don't end up changing rubrics midstream. And to do the rubric, you're going to click on this button over here, which is the, basically rubric choose form. When you click on that, it brings up the rubric. And if I want to change the rubric, the way I would change a rubric would be to click on this gear button over here. When you click on the gear button, it brings up the rubric thing, and you could edit it or change it or add a different one. If I wanted to change rubrics, I would just click on the little 3-bar thing, and then I can scroll to whichever grading form or rubric I actually want to use, whatever I feel like doing. And then when you have a rubric you want, you simply click this thing, which is attached to assignment. Click that. It's going to warn you you're changing rubrics, just to make sure you actually intend on doing that, because it could cause some problems if you do that midstream. Click confirm, and now this rubric is attached to the paper. All right, and so that'll sit on the side here when you are grading your paper, and you can kind of see the descriptors of each of the things down here at the bottom, which the students can see. I'm going to do this in a way that would make it a little easier to grade. I have 2 monitors at work. It also work if you have a really big monitor. If you click this little exploder button here, it actually pops up a new window with the grade form in it, so you could then set this off to the side of the paper in the second monitor while you're grading the paper, because otherwise it's taking up a lot of screen space. But you could just do that, and then as you grade along, and you say you get through the title and you just thought this was a good or a bad title. In this case, it's kind of a bad one. You just put the points right in there as you go along, and then you can kind of just scroll through and put things in. All right, so having the rubric off to the side is kind of handy as you go along. All right, close that. Cancel. Let's see, get rid of that. All right, so the other thing you're going to want to do when you're grading a paper is to use the quick marks. And quick marks depend on the teacher. I have a ton of them, and I have them broken down into 6 kinds of things. And therefore, as I go through, generally when I'm working on the intro, I have the intro one open, and I can just put in whatever I feel like putting in. And you basically just drop these things down wherever they belong. And that would allow the student then to see what's actually happening when they grade the paper or when they read the paper. So from the student point of view, these little blue dots will allow them to click on them, and they will actually open up, and you can put some very detailed explanations. If you made one in error, you just click the delete button. This doesn't really speed up your grading at all in my experience, but it does do a really good job of allowing you to say very specific things about the paper in a way that the student can understand. So you basically are just going through the paper, dropping things where they belong, the kinds of stuff you might say to a student, and that way they know exactly where the thing that you were trying to talk about was. They can click on these and figure out exactly what they did right or wrong. So this is kind of handy as you go through to make much better feedback for the students, although not really speed up your grading at all. The other nice part about it is that by the time you're done with this, it is permanent, effectively. It's in their account, so it kind of creates an automatic portfolio. So if you have them do 4 essays or something over the year, at the end they actually can go through all the essays, look at them again, and see growth or whatever you're having them look at over the course of the whole time. And they can't lose the papers, which is extremely crucial if you're trying to do portfolios. So basically you're going to use the rubric form button to look at the rubric you created. In my case, it's off the side here. You can explode that out, remember, if it's taking up too much space. And then you'll use your quick marks, which you can't explode out, unfortunately, so you'll definitely want to have enough space to do that. And then you're just going to choose between the various kinds of things you have as comments, and you can just drop those in place. All right, so that's basically how I grade the papers, is just drop in these blue things, enter into the rubric as I go along, and then finally what I do once I turn the paper back, basically I've graded them all, is I do a 20 to a half hour minute thing with the students where I actually have them reflect on these comments, because one of the things I've noticed is if you just grade it here and tell the students it's graded, they'll never look at the comments, or most of them won't. So you really do want to spend an assignment saying, what did you notice is your best, what did you do best most often, what are the simple mistakes you made, that kind of question, which actually will then force them to think about what it is they did and what they didn't do. All right, so that's how I use quick marks and rubrics to grade a student paper. Hope that helped. Bye.